Welcome to Conversations in the Coop. I'm your host, Trinity Director of Athletics, Drew Galway. My pleasure to be joined today by Josephine Kimball of the Trinity women's tennis team. Jo, thanks for joining.
Thank you.
So, as you're getting towards the end of your Trinity tennis career, lots to reflect on, but let's go back to the beginning. You grew up in New York City, and so how does someone in New York City kind of pick a sport? I've got to imagine it's not as conventional as a lot of students who grow up in the suburbs, and there's an array of Saturday morning sports going on in every park and schoolyard.
Yeah, no, it was definitely really tough. I think there are a lot of great things about growing up in New York, and you're exposed to a lot of different things that you can be a part of, but sports is definitely one that's more of a challenging activity growing up in Manhattan. But I was always involved with sports when I was younger. I was on all the, downtown soccer leagues, and, Pier 40 had football and rugby, and I have a twin brother, so I was just always involved in those programs with him as well. But I always played tennis in the summer in Long Island at my grandparents' house, and it kind of started out as more of like just a seasonal sport activity, and then when I was about 10, I really fell in love with the sport and wanted to pursue it more full time, and that just started a whole crazy travel schedule of leaving directly from school, driving 2 hours to White Plains, or driving to the Bronx, or driving to Harlem, and just kind of trying to manage my time and figure out what would be the easiest but also the best training opportunities for me all across the city.
So when your parents are, it's you and your brother, you're twins, and were they trying maybe encouraging you to be in some of the same things in those, particularly those early years?
Yeah, definitely. Which is tough because boy girl. I think like a lot of we couldn't be in the same tournaments, so there were a lot of times where we'd have to be split up, or my dad was going with my brother, my mom was going with me. But yeah, for the most part, they really tried to encourage us to do the same thing so that we could all be together.
So you won a tournament when you were 9 or 10, and was that the first point where you realized, like, oh, I'm actually like pretty good at this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was always optimistic that I would be good at it. I think it was more so my parents that weren't as sure about it. Neither one of them played college sports, so they just didn't really think about tennis as anything that was going to end up being serious. And it wasn't until I won a tournament, like a low-level tournament, and a coach had approached my mom and said, "Are you going to train her seriously?" And my mom was like, "Train her in what?" "What do you mean train her?" And that kind of sparked more of the optimism about really pursuing this seriously. And I think just with more coaches I met and more information that my mom and I got about how to pursue tennis was when it started to be like, okay, I think this could be something that becomes more serious than just a summer activity.
And how do you kind of, as a family, how do you kind of bridge that difference? Because everybody's probably seen movies like about the Williams sisters and kind of understands that Andre Agassi, Jennifer Capriati, like that level of we're all in at age 8 or 9 and living away from home and doing school with tutors. Then there's probably another level that's doing that part of the year, and then there's the next level, which is kind of where I'm assuming you were, which is really, really competitive tennis with really good players, but people who are trying to have still a normal life where you go to a school with other kids your age and have that experience too. So how did you kind of navigate that as a family?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably the most challenging part, but also I think the time in my life where I developed the most time management skills, and just some really strong skills that I'll take with me, or I've taken with me in college and will take with me post-grad too. But it was really important for both me and my family that my academics always come first. And so there were a lot of kids around me that were playing competitive tennis that would end up getting homeschooled, or they would do school part-time, and then they would leave at 1 o'clock and go train, and essentially this cut their travel time in half, and it kind of gave them a little bit more of a competitive edge that they got to have more time on court. But for me, that was obviously not an option at all. And so there were a lot of times where, I had to learn kind of how to deal with, we're going to eat dinner in the car today, or, you have to do your work early in the morning, and really just finding these ways to fit everything into my schedule while also training competitively. I also think it taught me how to really maximize my time when I was on the court. And I met a coach pretty early in my tennis career who told me that, 1 good hour is way better than 3 mediocre hours. And so I think that really helped me to understand that, every minute on court is a minute that you could be working hard, and I don't need to feel like I'm falling behind just because I don't have as much time on court, as long as I'm focusing on quality over quantity.
Did that carry over to other aspects of your life, especially in high school? Like you talked about the time management, so if I'm focused on school, I've really got to be focused there.
Definitely. I think, I'm sure anyone could agree, if you focus in class, your study time for the exam is probably not going to be as difficult. And I think that those skills that I learned in tennis, and how I learned to be so intense on court, definitely carried over into other aspects of my life.
So then, how did your college search go as you're going? Obviously, junior tennis playing in towards college, people start getting recruited. Like, what attracted you to NESCAC schools? What attracted you to Trinity?
Yeah, I really knew nothing. I mean, my parents didn't play college sports. They had no idea about the recruiting process and really no advice for me. I was really lucky because I had a family friend who was a little bit older than me who played for Amherst. And so she kind of acted as my mentor a little bit in terms of who I should talk to, how to write like the proper email, and just all of the basics of college tennis recruiting. And immediately, I got really set on this idea of going to a NESCAC school. I wanted strong academics, and I wanted that to be a priority, but I also wanted to be at a school that had a good school spirit, and that athletics were important to them as well, and that would be something that was a priority. And I think just out of all the schools, Trinity gave me that feeling the most. And Trinity was one of the first schools that I visited, and immediately I just had this feeling of like, okay, I could see myself here for 4 years, which I think freaked me out a little bit at first, because I was so comfortable, and I felt like, well, maybe I should go somewhere for 4 years that's just so completely different from what I'm used to, and will just really push me out of my comfort zone. And I think as I moved forward with the recruiting process, I realized that I would be able to be the most successful in a place that it felt like home. And that was a feeling that I had with Trinity, which is why I am here now.
Did you look at any other urban schools that maybe didn't have tennis courts on campus, or where there would be almost a really similar experience to your youth and high school level tennis?
I did not. It's interesting. A lot of my friends in high school ended up at places like NYU, and I just could not see myself doing that for another 4 years. Not because I don't love it, and I just accepted a job in New York, so I'll be moving back there, and I am so excited to be back in the city, but I just couldn't imagine, having to go through the grind of traveling so many hours for court time, and managing college classes and not having a college campus. I went to a high school that was a day school, but we did have a campus, and I didn't want to compromise, having the campus, having the facilities for the area.
So you were accepted in 2019-2020 school year. COVID hits your senior spring of high school. And so what was that transition like, going from New York, which was pretty restrictive in COVID restrictions that spring and summer, into coming to Trinity? You would have had a bedroom to yourself when you got here, so no real roommates. What was that transition like for you as a first year athlete?
I think it was that whole year. I think no matter what grade you're in, it was just a very weird transition and a very weird time to be a student and a student athlete. I think firstly there was a lot of uncertainty around, what are we allowed to do? Are we going to be able to participate in sports? And that, caused a lot of anxiety. But also just as a first year, you go to college and you don't know anyone. And maybe you've met people over social media, but you really don't know people. And you're in this weird position where you're told you're not really allowed to leave your room.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not allowed to socialize. And so I think that was really hard to transition into freshman year. That being said, I think being a student athlete really helped me because I was able to meet people, whether that be through Lyft or through my team. And I was so lucky that I had really great older girls on my team who took me under their wing. And I think if it wasn't for them, I may have had a very different experience my freshman year. So.
Yeah, we've heard from, as talking to a lot of seniors in the last few episodes, a lot of people just talking about like having that unit freshman year, whether it was people in their hall or people on their team who were also, people in the hall who are also athletes, like that was really the bond and a bond that's really carried through. Do you remember playing tennis with masks on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. It's so funny because I'm actually in one class this year where we're required to wear masks, and it's so hard for me to focus. And then I think back to freshman year when we literally had to compete in masks, and I don't know how I did it.
And logically now looking back and saying, necessary, not, who knows.
Right.
But yeah, I remember your first year fall, we were definitely very, institutionally, that was the best guidance we had, was that if we wanted to do these physical activities, we had people jogging around the track and you had to put your mask up if
Right.
you passed somebody and things like that. So, going through your career, you've gone through a coaching change during your career here. Coach Schulman left, and then Coach Lewis came on midway through your Trinity experience. So, just talk about the growth of women's tennis at Trinity since you've been here, and just culturally where you've seen the program grow.
Yeah, I mean, when I came freshman year, the program, just from a talent standpoint, was, it's night and day compared to now. And I think with each recruiting class, we've gotten stronger and stronger girls on this team and people, who are really excited about Trinity and really excited about playing tennis here, which is awesome. Last year, we had one of the best seasons we've had in years, which was really exciting to be a part of. And I think that really adds to just the culture of the team as well. Tennis is unique because it's such a small team. There are usually no more than 12 girls. This year we have 10 girls on the team. And so you all get really close. And that bond really contributes to the success of the team. And I feel like this year specifically, I feel like we're closer than we've ever been. And it's just been a really special thing to be a part of and to look back on throughout my 4 years here.
So you've had the chance to be not only playing at the top of the lineup in singles, but also doubles. So talk about the difference where in a college tennis match, you're going to go play a doubles match to start, then you're going to follow up with a singles match, and how do you switch between those mindsets and how different are they?
Yeah, I mean, it's two different games. I think in singles you have to have a level of selfishness that you obviously cannot have when you're playing with a partner. Another thing that is unique about playing an individual sport on a team is that the only thing you can control is putting your point on the board. Mm-hmm. And so as much as, I think our team does a great job of supporting each other when we're all on court and calling out and, cheering each other on, you have to be focused on what's happening on your half of the court. And so when you start out with doubles, you are focused on the bond with your partner, making sure you guys are united, having touch points, coming together after each point, and then you move into singles, which is so individual, and you really are just focused on what you are doing on that half of the court. So it's definitely different. I also think that playing both doubles and singles, you have to maintain a level of calm and collectedness, just because you could lose your doubles match, and then you have to roll into singles and be locked in and ready to go. So you have to kind of stay level-headed and try not to let the emotional of the result get to you in any way.
Do you enjoy one more than the other?
That's so hard to say. I played singles my whole life. I really didn't play doubles in the juniors, and so I kind of just wrote doubles off as something that, like, I'm not that good at it. And as I've played more and more in college, I've realized that I actually love doubles, and it's really fun, and I am good at it. So I think I would say I like doubles more.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm more comfortable playing singles, but I think that doubles can be really fun. And yeah, I think that now I would say I like doubles more.
So explain, for people who've never seen a college tennis match, there's something really special. If it's a close match, in D3 tennis, it's 9 points. So 3 doubles matches, 6 singles matches, and the first 1 to 5 kind of wins the match. But talk about the energy that happens when it is coming down. Maybe it's 4-4, it's 3-3 with 3 matches still to go, and everything gets focused on that one court. Talk about how this highly individual sport, as you described, suddenly becomes as team-oriented as anything else, and everybody crowding around the court.
Yeah, so usually what happens if it's a 4-4 match, both teams will line up on their players' half of the court, so will be a half court away, and all eyes are on you. I think that is the toughest position to be in. It can be the most fun, but also the toughest position to be in, because you're kind of feeling like it's all on me right now. But I think that's where you really feel this aspect of team tennis, is that there's so much cheering, there's so much support, and something that we really like to say on our team is 10v1. And so it's just a little reminder during those type matches that even though you're out there alone, we're all here with you. And I think that anyone on my team could say, like, that energy that comes from everyone lining up on the court and knowing that you have a whole team of girls behind you rooting for you, win or lose, they're going to go over and pick you up. That energy really contributes to then how well you start playing in those pressure matches.
So you've really taken advantage of Trinity since you've been here. You've done really, really well academically as an English major. Been a great student athlete for 4 years. You've been involved in Student Athlete Advisory Council, involved as a team impact mentor. What motivates you to be so engaged and excel in all these things? Because it's not something that every college student does.
Yeah, I mean, I was really lucky that I was given the opportunity to join the Student Athlete Advisory Committee my freshman year, and I think that really shaped how then I wanted to be involved in other things on campus throughout my 4 years. I'm really grateful that I got to step into this kind of position of leadership really early on and find my voice early on here at Trinity. And I think once you've done some of the behind the scenes work, you realize how special that is in terms of the Trinity community, but also the skills that you can learn being in those positions. So I joined SAC. I really loved my experience. I kept coming back. And from there, I was kind of made aware of more opportunities that I could be a part of and be a leader in. Team Impact being one that has, just been unbelievable to be a fellow of Team Impact. The organization is really, really special, and I think working hands-on with them, both through Trinity and, kind of assisting with the signing days for our Team Impact players, but also branching out and doing our own events. We recently went to Wesleyan and hosted a tailgate for the Wesleyan Trinity football game and invited all of our Team Impact players as well as the Wesleyan Team Impact players. And I think, being a part of that has been just really amazing and special. But I think what motivates me is, one, I like to be busy. It helps me with my schedule if I can just organize it all, even if I have a lot of things. Feels very rewarding to have all my ducks in a row. But also just seeing how my contributions to Trinity can really help in terms of decision making, both for athletics but also for other things around campus. And team impact especially has been one of those where even people who aren't student athletes, we've invited them to walk in our virtual 5K, and kind of bring the campus together. And so that's been very rewarding.
So do you ever draw that straight line from being 9 or 10 and driving all over New York City to go to tennis and having to have your schoolwork done, your parents saying, well, you got to get your schoolwork done? Do you ever draw that straight line to how organized and involved and engaged you are now?
Definitely. I think it was interesting transitioning into college and being at a college where the facilities are 5 minutes away, not even, because I realized, wow, I have all this free time. What do I do with this free time? I was like, okay, so I have 2 classes on Monday, and then maybe I have lift and maybe I have practice, and I have all this time to do other things. And I think that probably my high school experience taught me that I think I have a little bit of a hard time sitting still. But yeah, no, I think I can definitely draw that line between just, how hectic it was for me with the travel time and the work and, going to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. and all of those things to now how I kind of organize my day. And
so graduation is quickly upon you, and we don't want you to get sad about graduating, but you've got a job in New York City, and so kind of talk about how you use an English degree to get into the finance industry.
Yeah, I never thought I was going to get into finance, but I really took advantage of the Career Center here at Trinity, and so early on, my advisor kind of told me I was looking through the course catalog and all the classes I want to take were English classes, but I kept saying to her, but I want to go into business or finance, I think. And she was like, well, then maybe you should take some econ courses. And yeah, but I don't want to take econ courses, I want to take English courses. And she kind of explained to me that the beauty of a small liberal arts college is that you are better off majoring in the thing that you are passionate about and doing well in that, and you will still be able to go into whatever field you want to go into if you want to transition into that. And I'm really happy that I took her advice, because I think I have always been really happy in my classes and really interested. I think that intellectual curiosity and the skills that I learned because of that has helped me to apply analytical skills and things that you would learn in English that you wouldn't necessarily think would connect to more of a business finance world. They really do apply. And I took advantage of the Career Center, talked to some people there about just my interest in finance and how do I navigate how to get into that world. And through them, I was able to, connect with a lot of Trinity alumni who were very helpful. I found the Alliance Bernstein internship in corporate access, which I ended up getting and interning for them, and I absolutely loved it. And so here I am. Yeah. Now I'll be working there full time.
And so you're going to go back to Manhattan. Have you thought about how you're going to maintain tennis? And probably doubles more than singles, I would imagine, as an adult. But have you thought about where you're going to play?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, this past summer interning in the city, it was totally a grind. Just trying to figure out court time. Is it possible to get to the river early enough on those first come, first serve courts and not have to wait 3 hours for a court to open up? I ended up meeting some really cool people that had some, secret spots that they go to or courts that they book. I met a girl who plays for NJIT, and she actually has a court on her roof in Manhattan, which was very cool. But yeah, I think, there will be less pressure in terms of how often I have to go and figure out, the court time and the travel time for all of it. But I'm sure that I will continue to do it just because I love it. So.
Well, Joe, you've been a great example for all Trinity student athletes, and it's been a pleasure to have you here for 4 years, and excited for you and the team for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I want to thank Josephine Kimball for being on this conversation in the Coop. For all the latest news, scores, and schedules, go to bantamsports.com. Follow us on social at Bantam Sports. Until next time.